Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Visionary Leaders Podcast. My name is Aisha Harley, and I'm one of the founders, and we are thrilled to have you here with us today. Hold on, let me do a quick mute. Join us every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific time as we explore all things wellness, essential oils, and dōTERRA. If you miss an episode, catch up anytime on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Stay connected by signing up for our newsletter and text reminders at hellovisionary.life. So today we have a very special guest. Since 2012, Taylor MacKay has played a pivotal role in shaping dōTERRA's global sourcing strategies, building ethical partnerships, and ensuring the highest standards of purity and sustainability. In this episode, we're diving into what truly sets dōTERRA's sourcing and quality apart, exploring co-impact sourcing, CPTG testing, and the company's deep commitment to sustainability and community empowerment. So let's get behind the scenes of sourcing excellence with our special guest, Taylor MacKay. Marty, I'm going to pass the call on over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Aisha. I appreciate it. And hello, everybody. Taylor, welcome to our call. With our teams, we've combined forces, and we've loved hearing from some of all of you in the corporate headquarters to get a clearer idea of the background of all the beautiful oils that we work with. And we're super excited to have you here today. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, happy to be here.
All right. Well, a couple of things. I've always got some great questions for you, hopefully. But I wanted to just clarify for everybody, Taylor is the Vice President of Strategic Sourcing for dōTERRA. So this is the guy that's behind all of the highest quality certified pure tested grade oils and helps us find the right places for those sources. And so today we want to talk a little bit about your role, Taylor, if you could tell us about that. And I also would love to hear a little bit about your background, because I understand that you have lived in other countries, and I'm sure that ties into this. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah, so I've been with dōTERRA for about 12 and a half years. I originally started my career in finance and accounting, but have always had a passion for social impact strategy and kind of the overlap between what intentional business can do as a force for good in the world. So I kind of educationally have studied social impact strategy at University of Pennsylvania, went on and did my master's degree in the UK at Oxford, and have loved working with dōTERRA, where we're able to marry this powerful business engine with sustainable, ethical, responsible business practices to really be a force for good. So yeah, I've been super lucky to live and work in different parts of the world, in Uganda and India, in Paraguay. Most recently, I spent the last 7 years in Kenya working with dōTERRA. Spent a couple years in Europe. So yeah, I've been very fortunate to kind of live all over the world and learn from amazing people and amazing cultures.
Well, the work that you've done has been absolutely critical to creating the momentum of sustainable sourcing with dōTERRA. And I want to get into today some different questions around some of the things that have impacted the shifting of sources, because there was a time in the very beginning years that I'm sure you remember that, we get our X from here, we get this from there, and this from there. And then a lot of things are changing in the world. So backing up just a little bit, though, you now are here in America, is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
Full time. Yeah. Okay. And you have a group here or around the world, or tell us a little bit about that, like your staff, like how it's more than just you that does all this, right?
Oh, for sure. And it's mostly other people, if I'm honest. I have an amazing team. There's 15 of us that are on kind of the sourcing team, located in multiple parts of the world, in Australia, in Rwanda, in Brazil, many of us here in Utah, with a really diverse and interesting background. We've got people with horticulture experience, with international development, with supply chain, sustainability. It's a really wonderful, wonderful team. In addition to, a bigger team in, say, Bulgaria, where Esoteric distillation facility is, there's about 100 people that work there. Our amazing facility in Hawaii and KMR, and the amazing team that works there, Woodside in Pennsylvania. So it is a large team that makes this amazing engine keep going.
That's great. And now some of them are actual doTERRA employees and some are private entities. Is that correct? They're like not contractors, but how would you describe that relationship with the field versus, those of you that are like within the corporation?
Yeah. So those that I just described, those are all doTERRA employees.
Oh, okay.
And, supply chains are vast and complex. doTERRA's is no different. Meaning that, some of our sourcing entities like Esoteric Bulgaria, KMR in Hawaii, Woodside in Pennsylvania, those are owned and operated exclusively by doTERRA. Sometimes we'll take an approach where we'll make a minority investment into a supply chain and own 20% of a company or something. Or other times we don't have any ownership, but we do have really strong partnerships and contracts and relationships. And so it's a mixed bag.
Okay. Well, now, through the years, one of the things that's always been fascinating at the annual convention is getting an opportunity to meet some of the growers or the people that head up distillation. And I don't know who's more excited about it, them coming to the big stage or us all seeing and meeting them. But, I just try to imagine like the amount of knowledge that you must have in all of these different countries and the way that they're growing and distilling and harvesting what it is that we need. Like, how do you collect all that information yourself amongst your team? Like, are there specialists in certain things, or do people specialize in a country? How does that work?
Yeah, great question. We tackle it kind of multi-pronged approach. So we'll typically have a geographic kind of division. So, someone based in Brazil will look after our South America sourcing activities and portfolio. From a procurement and relationship management and strategy perspective. And we might have somebody in Nepal or in Australia or Rwanda, right, doing a kind of a geographic scope like that. Then we have our co-impact sourcing compliance team and program development team, and they're looking at, compliance with our code of conduct. They're doing on-the-ground assessments. How can we make more impact, more improvements in the supply chain? How do we elevate, this particular supply chain or community relationship that we're involved with? So yeah, there's multiple angles that we're kind of approaching this from.
That's fascinating. So it's really a team effort. It sounds like in each place, like
Oh,
its
for
own
sure.
structure. So when you look at the short and the long-term goals, with the co-impact sourcing program, 2025, there's a lot of stuff happening around the world. Obviously, this has to impact to some extent the efforts. What are some of the short and long-term goals in your department that would be interesting for all of us as wellness advocates and customers to hear about?
Yeah, that's a great question. I might start by just saying that sustainability, responsible sourcing is a journey, and it's a process, and it exists on a spectrum. And every company in the world is dealing with similar challenges and supply chain challenges and responsibility and sustainability initiatives and challenges. And the importance, in my view, is progress and being intentional and really leaning into this. So, I start kind of there and say, what are our short, medium, and long-term goals? Ultimately, our long-term goals are similar to our short-term and medium. We want to provide the very best essential oils to our customers in terms of quality, in terms of efficacy, in terms of sustainability, in terms of responsibility. We want our wellness advocates and our customers globally to have the utmost confidence in our products. And we want to move the needle and continue to move that needle to be better and better over time.
That's great. Well, it's been interesting to also watch some of the I'll just say, blending for lack of a better word, but the combination of strains of plants that are combined now to try to create that consistent delivery, therapeutic delivery. And it's an interesting thing because, with changes in our climate, changes in politics, changes in a lot of things, it can impact the sourcing, I'm assuming. And would love to hear a little bit about how you all keep your fingers on that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
It sounds complicated to me. So.
It is. It is. We're talking about over 100 essential oils from 45 plus different countries. It is a complex, global supply chain, lots and lots of moving parts. So we're constantly looking at sales forecasts and demand and product usage and new product strategy and looking at, how do we have the most impact that we can? How do we deliver on the highest quality that we possibly can? And then sometimes how do we diversify? How do we grow in a sustainable business model where we have to maybe extend our sourcing efforts to a new location to satisfy demand or to offset a harvest cycle that, in the northern hemisphere is during one season and in the southern hemisphere is another. And that gives us, in some case, some opportunity there to take advantage of seasonality. So there's a lot of factors involved in that.
Yeah. And then, of course, you're bringing in oils from all over the world, and then they're being distributed all over the world. Does that impact some of the sourcing efforts as well? Like, where they're going to, I think of it like a hub, like oils coming in and then they get distributed into, our teams in Asia and our teams in Europe and South America and North America. How does that work, in terms of your thinking and planning?
Yeah, very good question. Yeah, I mean, certainly in dōTERRA's early days and even several years into our existence, everything was kind of centralized in Pleasant Grove, right, in Utah, and then expanded from there. As we've grown in Europe and China and Japan, there are some localization strategies and some that are centralized. There's some oil, that for a particular market is sent to a facility in Ireland first, and then it's, filled and distributed for Europe, or Brazil, or likewise. For the most part, most of the product comes into the United States before being, shipped to customers outside. But that changes. That landscape changes as markets grow and demands change. True.
Okay, so now I'd love to have you tell us a little bit about one of your most a success story that you're most proud of in your sourcing team. I mean, obviously you've lived in different places, but overall and during your career, what are some of the things you're really proud of that we should all know about? Some of the stories.
Great question. I think there's a lot to be proud of. Like I mentioned earlier, I work with an incredible team of just super passionate people that take this really seriously. We're far from perfect. We make mistakes like anybody else. But I'm just so proud of the team and the amazing individuals that I get to work with. I think that's my biggest success.
That's great. Because then that's sustainable in itself, right? Because you have a heritage of people that are carrying on. Just on our end, we're trying to create that duplication. That's definitely critical in the corporate end too, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Over the years, there are some variations in product, and particularly because a lot of us, use our nose to determine. There are different versions that come out, etc. What is dōTERRA doing to try to monitor and impact the variations in the oils that we have available to us, not only in aroma, but therapeutic impact? What are some of the things and how does that affect your department?
Yeah, great question. Well, of course, nature has some natural variance. So that can be a variable at times. However, that being said, dōTERRA has set very strict kind of specifications for essential oil compounds within an essential oil itself, right? So that we're hitting the right chemical makeup designed by our research development teams, our quality teams, our medical teams, right? That we're trying to maximize the therapeutic benefit of the oil, and then set our specifications accordingly. So but that can be challenging, right? And certain compounds have a very, very what's the right way to say this? Outsized effect, say on aroma. You could change it just by 0.1% of a particular compound, but you'll notice it in the nose. And so some of those ranges are super, super tight, and some of them are a little bit more laxed. But again, it's, not trying, but achieving this tight specification designed by our teams here. And then I think over time too, you probably noticed this, some oils just age differently. It's almost like a wine, like it can change over time. You'll definitely notice that, particularly if you work in distillation and you smell an oil fresh off the still, it actually smells quite a bit different than a couple of weeks where it's just kind of aged. Some of those, usually it's water molecules that are kind of needing to separate a little further. But yeah, so there is some aging factor in that as well.
Okay, cool. I remember at one time, Corey Lindley, when he was, kind of speaking from the corporate stage at one point at a convention, he was talking about the fact that there was something like, I want to say like 80% of the sourcing locations were exclusive to dōTERRA. Is that still something that is a priority for the company? Does it matter? I mean, what's your view on that at this time?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we are trying to offer a highly differentiated essential oil product. We want our products to be completely and totally different, and unique, and they are. And we achieve that in a number of ways. In the specification that we set, in the formulation of the oil itself, particularly when it comes to our blends, particularly when, take eucalyptus as an example, right? Where we have a unique genus blend of different eucalyptus varieties. It's very unique. And then exclusivity on the ground. When we're able to get exclusivity, we do. We certainly do within our industry, right? We're protecting our industry. But the flavor and fragrance industries are vast and large, and it doesn't necessarily affect us directly. So if we're buying huge volumes of a product, we'll get that exclusivity, whereas we may not be able to if we did an LTO or a kind of a smaller niche oil for a kind of a one-off thing. So we are focused very much on product differentiation. It's the way that I would answer that question.
So when you talk about sustainability and we think about the oils that we have and have had in dōTERRA, there's quite a collection, as you mentioned earlier, like over 100 oils. There's some in that sweet spot that are the gotta haves in every household, gotta have on always available to us. Some of those additional oils that they're looking at more of a limited time only offering. Is it the primary activity of your department to focus on those core oils in terms of sustainable sourcing and strategic sourcing to make sure there's always available, like lavender and peppermint and things like that?
Yeah, to some extent, yes. I mean, we are trying to, we prioritize and focus on core products. Lavender is a great example, of that. But every one of our essential oil suppliers has to adhere to our strict supplier code of conduct. And we demand that in terms of the sustainability and ethics side of things. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't significant improvements that can and should be made in addition to that, because there are, and there always will be. But we have high expectations of all of our oil suppliers from a sustainability, ethics, and of course, from a quality perspective.
That's great. Okay, so co-impact sourcing and healing hands are often viewed here in the field as part of the same segment of what we know and love about dōTERRA. Do you work with the Healing Hands Foundation? When you have a location, is the objective from a corporate perspective to bring Healing Hands activity in there, or is it like, let's pick 5 really great ones and go deep with that? Or how do you all look at that?
That's a really great question. Ironically, I was in a meeting right before this call discussing that very thing.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, so maybe I'll step back a little bit. So co-impact sourcing is really the focus on sourcing the best and helping the most. It is a responsible, sustainable, ethical sourcing strategy and program. Whereas Healing Hands, of course, is our philanthropic arm of dōTERRA. dōTERRA donates to Healing Hands. Wellness advocates donate to Healing Hands. And we're able to use philanthropic money to do meaningful things in addition to our sourcing activities. So we often collaborate and work together, but they are two fairly different teams and objectives.
That makes sense. You know, I think I mentioned this to you in something I sent you, but I've had an opportunity, as have several people on this call, to participate in different co-impact sourcing, Healing Hands experiences over the years with dōTERRA, which are so deeply meaningful. And we're grateful to be able to go to Hawaii and to Pennsylvania now, and Bulgaria, and as well in leader-led programs, and also dōTERRA offering programs this year, I believe, to Kenya and to Bulgaria. These kinds of programs, I'll just say to you, for your team, are highly impactful for people to participate in. And do you imagine that those will continue as long as travel is available? I'm sure it's disruptive to the people doing business to like deal with the tourists, but do you see that being a part of what's going to be happening going forward?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Again, in this strategy meeting, I was just saying one of our several core capabilities that our corporate team is focusing on is trend-setting experiences. What you're just describing is an experience that's experiential learning. And that applies to leadership events, that applies to convention, that applies to, all sorts of things, but also to co-impact sourcing. How do we get more people to have more powerful connecting cultural exchanges and cultural experiences where they're got their hands dirty, looking at distilleries, planting, harvesting, really feeling these amazing plants and people that are involved with them. And then doing that with teams and doing that with leaders from corporate, like bringing all of this together into these kind of really meaningful experiences for people. Yeah, we absolutely want to accelerate that and continue.
Well, that is fantastic, because I think, everyone is looking for those points of connection, and that authentic, hands-on experience for people who love to touch oils is another great way to just solidify the truth and the reality of what it is that we're working with, and appreciation, deep appreciation,
Sure.
which is
Yeah.
makes a loyal customer as well. Really kind of one of the last things, I mean, I can probably ask you a million questions, but I want to just ask you a little bit about looking forward. Okay. We're in many ways, we're at a kind of a turning point at dōTERRA, where many of us are looking ahead. This last 15, 17 years have been fantastic, but over the next 5 years, what are you most excited about creating in the co-impact sourcing area of the company over the next 5 years? Like, what's kind of the really long-term, what are you hoping to see more of?
Yeah, great question. One of the conversations that we're constantly having with my team is how do we improve? How do we do this better? How do we make a bigger difference and continue to deliver a highly differentiated product for our wellness advocates? And we're looking at that from lots of different angles. Like one of the projects that we're working on right now is involving some third-party consultants who specialize in ethical and sustainable audit practices. And the project is come look at our practices, our scorecard, our code of conduct, our audit assurance projects and program that we've built, and give us some feedback. Help us make this better. We're working on expanding, our co-impact sourcing reach. Now, co-impact sourcing is just the philosophy of how we source everything everywhere, but how can we, target a specific community that we've been involved with for many, many years and help them scale? How do we help them grow their business as we help wellness advocates grow theirs? Those are the conversations that we're having and kind of the objectives that we're trying to achieve.
Those are great. And I think, the idea of the scorecard, if people aren't familiar with that, is a fascinating concept, whether it stems from manufacturing or, of any kind, but the whole idea of monitoring each step along the way and measuring it against a set of standards helps us figure out if we're on track in any particular place. And I love that that's been something that your department has worked on, because it is the foundation of everything we have at dōTERRA, right? Is the source, the quality of that sourcing, as you say, and the fact that not just the actual product, but I love that you're talking about the impact into the communities, because I think that that's where many of us believe, the beautiful impact of the oils comes from that. It comes from the heart of the people who are actually growing and distilling and harvesting these things for us. This is, it matters. And I think that's why many of us have been involved in dōTERRA for so long. I know that, there are people on this call, Taylor, who may have some questions. If there's anything anybody wants to put in the chat, I'd love to have you add that so we can go ahead and ask any questions. There is one here that is, along with the question, let's see here. How is dōTERRA measuring impact overall and in the team using blockchain technologies to track? That's a great question. I'm not sure what blockchain technologies are, but can you talk about that and put it in English for the rest of us?
Well, I would love to use blockchain technology, which is, Bitcoin is kind of the one that people are most familiar with.
Okay. That kind of thing. Okay.
Payment
systems.
But if I'm honest, we're not using blockchain technology today.
Okay.
But that would be really, really cool and really powerful, where we could make connections. Theoretically, you could say, okay, this farmer over here, you connect them. We do this all on paper and kind of internal systems, but just not on a blockchain where we're connecting the fields to the bottle. But blockchain is a technology that could potentially allow us to do that, but we're not exploring that right now.
Okay. And so what you're saying is that is it about payment? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
It can be. It can be about payment. It can be about
production,
traceability. Yeah.
Okay.
Asset ownership and flow and information back and forth.
Well, there is some technology though in some of the sourcing locations, right? Like,
for sure.
I remember the whole story about what was being done in India and how they were tracking, production and soil and whatever they were tracking, and on their handheld devices. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
So there's more of that coming, I'm assuming, in some places where it makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Technology is revolutionizing everything, of course. And there's a lot of revolutionary gains that can happen in small scale farming and in essential oil production. I can just speak to, my experience in Kenya. Where we have this amazing team of field officers with our partner there who go out on a daily basis, visit with farmers, burn tea tree or geranium, or lemon eucalyptus, or a host of other oils, and spending time with them on the ground, coaching them, understanding their issues and challenges, and then had an application on their cell phone that says, okay, this is Farmer Juma, this is what I talked about today. Let me take a picture of the field. That'll get uploaded to a central server. Looks like he's going to be ready to harvest in about 7 weeks. Let's check back then. And all that kind of technology is helping feed up top and bottom and coordinate things amongst thousands of different people.
That's amazing. And those are being done by humans. Someone asked if you're using artificial intelligence tools in any way to, tabulate data or to monitor what's coming. Is any of that part of your IT aspect of how you do your work?
It is we are talking about it. How do we harness this technology, particularly in AI, in gaining real kind of data analytics and insight to make better decisions?
Okay. I have a couple of other questions here. Someone's asked about how long are unopened bottles of oils good for? And I think the answer depends on the oil, right? But
that's true. Yeah.
Do you have any general comments on that?
Legally, as what does the expiration date say on the bottle?
Yeah, look at the bottom of the bottle. That's what we're supposed to say, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, yeah, that question, please ask somebody who helped get you involved in dōTERRA. And I know there's a lot of opinions about that on this call with all of the great experience behind us. All right, a couple other things here. In terms of measuring value overall, I'm not sure if that question means how do you measure the value of the oil or the value of the department? There's a person, Rebecca Saltman, who has quite a few questions like that, and she wants to get in touch with you. I guess if someone has questions about sourcing, where should they direct that to? Is there someone in your department or to you where people have specific questions?
Yeah, great question. I mean, the fastest, best way is typically through customer service and your account manager.
Okay.
And those can then, occasionally be elevated if they're not sure of the answer to that particular question. Then my team can typically respond to that ticket. That's probably the fastest, best way.
Yeah, that's how I got a hold of you. So, we'll just say to people, get a hold of your account manager. If you don't have an account manager, please reach out to someone in your upline who can get that information asked or requests for you for sure. Okay. Another question that's come up is that you've spoken about the pride in your team. What are some of the most challenging aspects of managing a team? And because it's a unique thing, right? We got people all over the world. And she said, the question is, I remember Emily talking about opening conversations among adversarial groups in Somalia. Oh, that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, so I personally haven't dealt much with Somalia. When I was based in Kenya, my reach was Kenya, Tanzania, and Madagascar. So I can't personally speak to that, but to the wider question of challenges, I guess it's two-pronged. One as a leader of a team, and two kind of sourcing challenges. But I mean, the first one, I think we all know this, that leadership and being a leader is hard. And you have good days and you have bad days. And I think we've all experienced those kind of roller coasters. We just recently did the Gallup Strength Finder exercise with our team here. And one of my strengths is just working together with friends in an authentic and genuine way. That's how I work best. That's what I try to do as I build a team. But we know leadership is hard. It's not easy. But I'm super grateful for the team that I do have. In terms of sourcing challenges, man, how much time do you have? Like, you name the oil, you name the country, we have challenges, right? It's an ongoing thing, and it's never going to end. And we just we embrace the challenges as they come.
Well, I know there are times when, incidences arise, whether it's, a natural occasion or national occurrence, or it's something, a political occurrence where there's a shift in the source and the supply. About how much supply does dōTERRA keep on hand of these oils so that, or core oils, to have on the ready?
Yeah. Great question. That is a target that does move. So if you asked me that a couple of years ago, I'd give you a different answer.
Yeah.
But today it's about a year.
Okay.
A year of inventory. Yeah. Yeah. And again, that target kind of grows based on business need and working capital needs and other things. But generally we don't want to stock out ever.
Right.
And certainly not on our, core products of On Guard and Lavender and Breathe and et cetera. So we might take a slightly longer approach on inventory balances for those versus something that maybe doesn't move quite as much.
Right. As part of like an insurance program for that, is it a goal of the sourcing area to have more than one, I'll just say, country that can provide a particular oil that's deemed a critical oil? Is that part of the strategy?
That's definitely part of the calculus. Although sometimes that's just not possible. Copaiba out of the Amazon, that's the only place that it will grow. Yeah. And that's great. We're stuck with the Amazon and it's fantastic and it's vast. Versus citruses, lemon, we'll source out of Brazil, we'll source out of Italy, out of Sicily, who have, developed those expertise and large markets. And so, yeah, it does depend on the oil, although some diversification where possible is definitely, a goal. Yeah.
Okay. Taylor, are there very many people in the world that do what you do? I mean, your job sounds like so incredibly unique and specific to dōTERRA. Do you have like a counterpart, like a group of strategic sourcing people that meet around the world and talk about strategic sourcing?
Yes, actually.
Oh, you do? Okay, cool.
But often in different businesses and different supply chains and ingredients. Yeah, so like I was at a conference in Amsterdam a couple months ago called, it's the Union for Ethical Biotrade, and there were suppliers and buyers and sourcing managers and directors that were there just talking about herbs and spices and essential oils on my side, and how do we do this better? How can we be sustainable? How do we improve people's lives and be as reciprocal and regenerative as, having those conversations. Is there a direct, VP of strategic sourcing of essential oils at some other company? I don't know. But in other industries, yeah.
Okay. I've got a couple other questions, and that is, there's a lot changing in our world, and I'm just curious if the dōTERRA sourcing efforts are impacted by changes in the our U.S. federal investment in international trade. Is that having any impact on what's going on for sourcing now, or do you anticipate that in 2025 and beyond?
Yeah. I mean, are you specifically talking tariffs potentially?
Yeah, tariffs, and also, if there was federal support for a country that was somehow impact, that is also one of our sourcing locations, will that impact their interest in working with dōTERRA going forward? I'm just curious.
Yeah, great questions. I'm asking those questions all the time. I suspect that there will be.
Yeah.
What those consequences or what that impact will be, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that all kind of plays out. But yeah, geopolitics and tariffs and trade policy do make a difference in supply chains for sure.
Yeah. Okay, this one is a softball. You ready? You are a dad and you've got kids that sounds like they've probably been raised with dōTERRA.
Yeah.
What are some of the favorites that your family uses and that you use? What do you love? You got to have. What do you got to have on hand?
Yeah, great question. I sometimes struggle with sleep, so Serenity is a fantastic product line for me. Used it last night. After I woke up at 3 a.m. thinking about a meeting I had today. I'm like, oh man, I'm stressed out. Put some of this on, go back to sleep. On guard's a big one for us. Digestion when you have those tummy bugs when you're living in Africa. Yeah. A whole host of them.
There you go. Well, the travel collection, right?
There you go.
I know that myself, and yeah, I'm a massive fan of all those. And for a few of us that are a little past the middle of life, Serenity is one of our best friends. So please make sure we always have plenty of that.
Awesome.
All right. Well, those are the questions I had that I wanted to ask you, Taylor. It's so interesting hearing about what you and your team are doing to help all of us around the world. And, there's such an element of this that is about doing the right thing in the world too. And it makes us all very proud to be a part of the dōTERRA family with the work that you guys are doing. It's really a unique part of the company. And I'm so glad that we got a chance to hear from you directly today. I'm sure you got a million things you got to do, but Aisha and Josie, if there's any other questions, please feel free to unmute and ask them. But if not, I just want to say, Taylor, thank you so much for the opportunities that we've had to travel and see these places. Thank you for all the hard work that you and your team are doing. It really matters to so many thousands and thousands of families out there.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much. If I could just throw that back, we cannot do what we do without wellness advocates like you. When you grow your business, we're able to grow businesses with tea tree farmers in Kenya or ginger farmers in Tanzania. We cannot do it without our amazing wellness advocates and leaders. And so I would say thank you for all that you all do.
Great. And
I was-
Josie and Aisha,
Yeah.
maybe a last comment from you guys?
Well, it's a question. I know I was trying to think the whole time. I was just listening. I didn't have any questions because I was listening, but I loved, Taylor, the way you actually, in like 2 sentences, something I've never been able to do, succinctly described co-impact sourcing. So that was fantastic. I hope go back and write that down. But I'm wondering that, one of the other issues, I don't know if you have a succinct way to speak to this from your experience that we occasionally get in the field is, of course, the long enduring question of, well, what is CPTG versus organic? And so like the why, and I just wondered if you, from your experience, had something you could help us with or add to about, or, I mean, I have my answers all along the way, but right, about organicness and not organicness within the essential oil industry. That seems to be a prevailing thing for the field.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, less a topic for my team and much more for our
Okay.
tech and quality teams. But I can tell you the experience of trying to get essential oils from a Sri Lanka, from Indonesia through quality. And it being a very, very rigorous, thorough, as it should be, process that is sometimes rejected on the quality basis, on, agricultural residue basis, on the, the compounds that we're trying to not isolate, but to elevate for therapeutic reasons. So
Mhm.
I personally don't deal with the testing, but can just let you know it's very difficult, as it should be.
Right.
And the organic would just be the growing standard though, isn't that correct?
That is correct. Typically, yeah. So you could have multiple certifications that are more on the production side of things, organic being one, regenerative agriculture being another, fair trade being, more on the ethical side of things, the community side of things. And yeah, typically those are on the production side. So I dealt with some organic certification, for example, in Kenya, where our producer there was organic certified on a number of products like tea tree and lemon eucalyptus and things. And so, yeah, familiar with more on the growing side of things.
Cool. Well, Aisha, did you have anything else you wanted to ask or add?
No, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time. We just deeply appreciate all that you do for us at corporate to really help deliver the very best oils that we all depend on in our daily lives. And so much gratitude. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks so much for your time.
Yay.
Thank you,
Thank
Taylor.
you.
Taylor, so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
See you all.
everybody. Hey, and can we just have everyone hang on? We've got another announcement about next week. Right?
Yes. Yeah, I was thinking, can we have Bettina come on? Thank you, Taylor. Can we
Thank
have
you,
Bettina
Taylor.
come on?
Have a great
And
day.
we have an amazing call next week that this is a topic we've been wanting to cover for some time. And we have Bettina on the call. And Bettina, would you give us a little overview of what you're going to talk about? This is definitely a call that you should share with friends and loved ones and help get the word out. I think this is something that's really needed and really important. So Bettina,
Well, I
fill us
thank you
in on
so
what's happening
much.
next week.
Thanks, Aisha. Appreciate it. And I think that there are probably millions of people in the US alone who are caregivers, either in a medical facility, as in medical staff, and people who are at home caregivers for whom there is no payment other than the love of the family that they're caring for. And it can be an extremely stressful lifestyle to be a caregiver. And so I've had some experience in the last 7 years working with nurses in a hospital setting, and also working with a caregivers group, adult caregivers, of their parents usually, or a sibling. And so I just have some aspects of that I'd love to share with you. I don't think you're going to find that they are such miraculous choices of oils that I'm going to suggest to you, because we're all oil users. It's really more what the perspective is and what the symptoms can be for long-term caregiving that cause people a lot of stress and physical ailments and mental ailments and so forth. So I'm really going to be talking about that whole sort of ball of wax, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you about it.
I want to mention one other point on that too, with Bettina's talk next week. That's great, is that you get an opportunity to think about the languaging that you too can use with your friends and family, because all of us are touched by that experience, right? If we're lucky enough to live to old age, it's possible that there will be someone needing to care for us. So it's really a fantastic opportunity to listen on many different levels, and I hope that you'll join us next week.
Thanks,
Yay,
Marty.
thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marty, too, for being our wonderful hostess today and asking all the
great questions.
And we'll look forward to seeing you all next week.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.